You know that feeling, right? You walk into a coffee shop, maybe somewhere new, could be London, could be Sydney. That amazing coffee smell hits you. You see the board, the barista's waiting, and suddenly, blank. That English you were feeling pretty good about just kind of vanishes. And you're standing there maybe feeling a bit awkward, mumbling, or just pointing at something.
Oh, yeah. It's a really common moment. That simple, everyday thing, ordering a coffee, it can feel surprisingly, well, daunting when you're not on home turf, even if your English is actually quite good.
Absolutely. It happens to so many people.
Oh, so yeah.
And it just shows how much nuance there is in these interactions that seem so simple on the surface. And that is exactly what we're diving into today. We've been looking closely at some resources. One's designed to help you get past just, getting by, to help you actually order coffee like you belong there, like a local.
That's the goal. Because look, this isn't just about getting your caffeine fix, is it? It's really about mastering a fundamental social situation, a linguistic one too. It's about feeling more confident in a really practical everyday setting, feeling more sort of part of the flow.
Exactly. So our mission for this deep dive, based on digging into this material, is to pull out those essential bits. The key vocabulary the source says you have to know, those phrases that just make the interaction feel natural, and yeah, a bit of that cultural awareness, the stuff that makes the difference between feeling like a tourist and feeling, well, comfortable.
It's all about giving you the tools, as the source rather nicely puts it, to become a barista boss.
A barista boss. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this. Starting where the source suggests the absolute basics. What are those non-negotiables? The core terms the source is saying you really need lockdown first.
Well, the fundamental idea from the source is you got to know the universal language of coffee itself first. These are the bedrock terms. You'll find them pretty much everywhere. So first up, the actual drink types.
Right. And the source really flags these because, well, they're the base for almost everything else, aren't they? We're talking espresso, that strong concentrated shot.
Exactly. Then the classics built from that. Americano, that's just espresso plus hot water. Latte espresso, loads of steamed milk, just a little bit of foam on top. And its cousin, the cappuccino. Similar, but maybe a bit less milk and definitely a thicker foam layer. More airy.
And you can't forget just plain old brewed coffee, often called black coffee or maybe filter coffee. Sometimes you hear drip coffee too, depends where you are. That's your standard cup.
Yeah, and then the smaller, maybe punchier ones, macchiato, that's espresso with just a dollop of foam. And mocha, basically a latte or cappuccino, but with chocolate flavor in there. The source really emphasizes that just knowing these names correctly, that's step one to sounding like you know your stuff.
Okay, so drink type. Got it. Next up, size. Let's ignore the fancy chain names for a moment. The most common words you'll see and what the source says are the most reliable across the board are just small, medium, and large.
Yes. And it's useful, the source points this out, that in many places, if you ask for a regular size, that often just means medium. It's like a little local default. While, yeah, you might see tall or grand or whatever, those three, small, medium, large, they're your universal key.
Okay, and here's a really crucial point from the source. Temperature. You absolutely have to say it. Is it hot or iced? They won't just guess.
Exactly right. Such a simple word, but specifying prevents like half the potential mix-ups right there. And lastly, for this basic layer, location, are you having it to go, meaning in a paper cup, taking it out, or for here, so in a proper mug, staying in the shop? The source really stresses getting comfortable using those two phrases.
So the core insight is nailing these four things: drink type, size, temp, location. That's like language layer one. The source frames this as absolutely fundamental, non-negotiable starting point, and practice saying them together, right? Like medium iced latte or large hot black coffee to go.
Absolutely. That's where confidence starts, having those basic building blocks ready. Now, once you've got those basics sorted, the source moves on to the next really key layer. Customization. This is where you really start to tailor your drink, like a native speaker often does.
Right, and this is where it can get quite complex, can't it? Modern coffee shops have so many options. The source really gets into how you can personalize your drink perfectly. Like, just think about milk. It's not just milk anymore.
Oh, it's a whole world.
Right.
And the source highlights that being comfortable asking for alternatives is, well, it's key to sounding local. You've got your whole milk, your skim milk, sometimes called fat-free milk, and then all the popular non-dairy ones, almond milk, oat milk, soy milk. You need to know those names.
And sweetness. Again, not just sugar packets on the counter. The source mentions asking for sweetener, if you want the artificial kind, or specific syrups. Vanilla, caramel, hazelnut are super common. And the real insight here, the source says, is that locals often know how to be really specific, like 1 pump of syrup or 2 pumps, or even asking for sugar on the side.
Strength is another big one for customization. Want it stronger? Just ask for an extra shot, or maybe a double shot. It's clear, concise.
And the source points out you can actually get more specific with temperature too, beyond just hot or iced. Asking for it extra hot is surprisingly common. People like their drinks really steaming. Less often, but still understood, are things like lukewarm or maybe kids' temperature if you need it cooler for a child.
And for certain drinks, maybe fancier ones, don't forget toppings. Whipped cream is a big one, or asking for cinnamon or chocolate powder on top of, say, a cappuccino.
Good point. And for people avoiding caffeine, the source confirms the magic word is simply decaf, as in, can I get a decaf latte, please? Simple as that.
And even with ice drinks, the source notes, you can fine-tune the ice. You can ask for light ice if you don't want it too watery, or extra ice if you want it really, really cold.
Okay, so the big takeaway from the source here seems to be locals use this specific customization language to get exactly the drink they want. And you shouldn't be afraid to layer these requests. Baristas hear complex orders all day long. The source really pushes practicing combining these, like, can I get a medium iced Americano with light ice and an extra shot, please? Now that sounds like a barista boss.
It really does. Moving from the basics to these specific requests, it just shows a much deeper level of comfort, of fluency. But, and this is a huge but, according to the source, the vocabulary alone isn't the whole picture. There's a fundamental cultural piece here. Politeness. It's absolutely essential.
Non-negotiable, you said it. The source really hammers this home. It makes such a difference to the whole interaction. And it starts really simple, doesn't it? Just a friendly hi or hello when you step up.
Yeah, and following that with one of those standard polite ways to start your order, the source lists things like, can I get? Or could I have? Or maybe I'd like. These are the go-to phrases. So, could I have a small black coffee, please?
And that word please at the end. The source basically calls it crucial. Mandatory, almost. Forgetting it in English-speaking cultures can just sound really abrupt, maybe even a bit rude or demanding. It's a vital social signal.
It really is. And then be ready for the questions the barista will ask to kick things off. You'll hear things like, what can I get for you? Or what would you like? Or maybe, are you ready to order? The source's insight, have your order figured out before you get to the front and then say it clearly.
Right. And when you've finished listing what you want, they might check anything else for you. Or will that be all? The source recommends just a simple, clear reply. That's all, thanks, or no thank you.
And showing gratitude throughout, that's another key politeness insight. A quick thank you when they tell you the price, and another thank you when they hand you the drink. These little things, they just sort of grease the wheels of the whole interaction, make it smoother.
And the barista will almost certainly double-check the location bit, for here or to go, or maybe they'll say eating in or taking out. Just have your simple answer ready. To go, please, or for here, thank you.
And one more scenario. If you've ordered ahead on an app, or if it's just super busy, they might ask, what's the name for the order? The source just advises, be ready with your name.
So the big insight here is these polite phrases, they aren't just like optional extras. They're fundamental to making the whole thing feel natural and smooth. The source actually encourages you to mentally rehearse the whole dialogue, from the hello right through to the final thank you. That repetition helps it become automatic.
Exactly. Practice makes those social graces feel totally natural, which is just as important as knowing the difference between a latte and a cappuccino. And speaking of the whole exchange, the source also spends some time on just navigating the physical space, the flow at the counter. It's that practical layer of understanding how things work.
Right, the logistics of being a smooth operator, a barista boss. The source's first really practical tip, look at the menu board before it's your turn. Obvious, maybe, but important.
Yeah, it sounds simple, but it gives you that crucial time to decide, to put your order together in your head without feeling rushed and, without holding up the people behind you. It's just a common courtesy locals tend to practice.
And the source really emphasizes, it is absolutely okay to ask questions if you're not sure about something. Don't feel silly. Things like, could you tell me what a flat white is? Or what kind of non-dairy milk do you have? Baristas expect questions like that. They're usually happy to explain.
And what if you don't catch what the barista says? Maybe they spoke quickly, or there's background noise. The source's advice is clear. Don't just nod. Ask them to clarify. Could you repeat that, please? Or even, could you speak a little slower? Totally acceptable phrases. They show you're engaged.
And when you're actually at the counter ordering, the source suggests trying to make a bit of eye contact with the barista. It just makes the interaction feel a bit more human, less like you're ordering from a machine rather than just staring at the menu, or worse, your phone.
Good point. And the barista will often repeat your order back to you, just to confirm. The source advises listening carefully, then respond with a clear, yes, that's right, thank you, or maybe just correct, please, if they got it spot on.
Okay, then comes payment time. You need to listen for prompts like, will that be cash or card? Or maybe, are you paying with cash or card?
Yeah.
The source just reminds you to have your preferred payment ready to go.
And yeah, if you're using a card, listen for those instructions about whether to tap or swipe or insert the chip. Sometimes you have to choose credit or debit on the screen too. Just follow the prompts.
And finally, pay attention to where they tell you to pick up your drink. This is important in busy places. The source notes baristas will say something like, your drink will be ready at the pickup counter. Or maybe just point and say, you can grab it down there. Knowing where to wait avoids confusion and crowding.
Yeah, the insight here is really that understanding the whole sequence, the whole routine from choosing your drink right through to picking it up. It helps you navigate the whole environment with much more confidence. It's not just about saying the words, it's about performing the whole interaction smoothly.
Okay, so we've got the language, the customization, the all-important politeness, and the practical steps at the counter. The source also digs into something a bit less tangible, the underlying cultural context, the etiquette that really shapes the whole coffee shop vibe.
Yes, and these cultural insights, these are the things that really help you blend in, feel less like an outsider. For instance, the source mentions that the pace of ordering can actually vary quite a bit. Some places, especially maybe busy downtown spots, are super quick, very efficient, get them in, get them out. Others might have a slightly more relaxed feel where a brief chat or pleasantry with the barista is more common. You just have to read the room a bit.
Tipping. That's a huge one, culturally.
Mm-hmm.
And the source makes it clear this varies massively depending on where you are in the world. In the U.S., for example, tipping baristas is really common. Expected, even. $1 or $2 for a drink is pretty standard, maybe more for a complicated order or if they were really helpful. You'll see tip jars right there or prompts on the card machine asking for a tip.
But in other countries, many other countries, the source notes that tipping just for a coffee might be much less expected or just not done at all. Understanding that local norm, that's a really key cultural insight. Avoids awkwardness.
The source also touches on the idea of regulars, those local folks who go to the same place all the time, and the baristas might even know their order by heart. Just observing that dynamic can give you a sense of the community feel of a particular coffee shop.
And asking about loyalty programs, things like, do you have a loyalty card? Or is there a rewards program? That's another common question that, according to the source, kind of shows you understand how these places often work locally.
Line etiquette, too, seems basic, but the source mentions it. Just being patient. And crucially, having your order ready when it's your turn. Don't start deciding when you get to the front.
And paying attention to the shop's atmosphere, that's another cultural insight from the source. Is it quiet, laptop-focused? Or is it buzzing, loud, more of a social hub? Knowing that helps you figure out how to behave, where to sit, how loud to talk.
Good point. And in those really busy shops, the source notes again that there's often a totally separate area for pickup.
Yes.
You need to listen for your name or your order over there, not hover around the main ordering counter after you've paid.
Exactly. So these cultural points, they add this whole other layer to your, let's call it coffee shop fluency. They help you feel more like you actually belong in that space, not just like someone who managed to order a drink correctly.
Okay, but what about when things don't go quite right? Because, let's be honest, mistakes happen sometimes. The source actually gives some really useful insights on handling common problems, because even locals run into these little hitches.
Yeah, being prepared for minor issues is actually a big sign of confidence. It shows you can handle things. So the source gives phrases for when, say, your order is wrong. You can politely start with, "Excuse me, I think there might be a mistake." Then calmly say, "I ordered your correct order, but this is what you actually received." The key insight from the source. Be clear, but stay calm and polite.
Okay, what if your coffee just isn't hot enough? It happens. The source suggests saying something like, could I possibly get this a little hotter, please? Or maybe more directly, this is a bit cold, could you warm it up for me? Baristas are usually fine with fixing the temperature.
Or if a customization you asked for got missed. Maybe you ask for no sugar, but it tastes sweet. The source advises something like, Excuse me, I asked for no sugar in this. Could you possibly remake it, please? Again, politeness is absolutely key when you're asking for a correction.
What if you finish ordering, pay, and then realize, oh, I forgot something, like an extra shot? The source says you can try adding it quickly, ideally before they've started making it. Like, oh, sorry, and could I also get an extra shot in that, please? Or, actually, sorry, could you make that with oat milk instead? Worth a try.
And if you're just not sure about the price they charged you, maybe it seems higher than expected. The source notes it's perfectly okay, completely normal, to ask, could you just confirm the total, please? Or, sorry, what was the total again?
The source also prepares you for hearing that maybe they're out of something you wanted.
Yeah.
Like the barista says, oh, sorry, we're actually out of oat milk today. The insight here is, don't panic. Be ready to quickly pivot. Choose an alternative. Oh, okay, then soy milk is fine, thanks.
And the dreaded accident. What if you drop your freshly made drink? Mortifying, right. The source recommends owning up immediately. Oh no, I'm so sorry, I just dropped my coffee everywhere. Could I possibly get another one, please?
Yeah.
It notes that whether you have to pay again really depends on the shop's policy, but starting with an apology is definitely the right move.
Right. So the overall insight from the source on troubleshooting is basically knowing these phrases beforehand helps you handle these little bumps in the road smoothly. It reduces that feeling of panic and just shows you're adaptable and self-sufficient.
Yeah, mentally preparing for these what-ifs helps you react calmly and confidently if they do happen, just like someone who's totally at ease in that environment would.
Okay, nearly there. Finally, the source reminds us that coffee shops often sell more than just drinks. So to truly navigate like a local, it helps to expand your vocabulary a bit to include common food items and maybe even merchandise.
Yes, exactly. Ordering food using the right terms is definitely part of the whole experience. The source lists common things like pastries, croissants, muffins, scones, plus maybe cookies, brownies, cakes.
And for savory stuff, the source mentions things like sandwiches, wraps, or salads. Often they're pre-made, sitting in a display case. And particularly in the mornings, you might see oatmeal or yogurt on offer.
And the insight is you just order these using the same polite structures you use for drinks. Can I get a blueberry muffin, please? Or I'd like the chicken salad sandwich, please. Straightforward.
And then there's merchandise. Lots of coffee shops sell their own branded stuff now. The source points out things like coffee beans, and you'll probably need to specify whole beans or ground. Also mugs, travel tumblers, those reusable cups, and sometimes even things like coffee brewers or filters.
And you can ask about these things too. Do you sell your own coffee beans? Or be specific. Can I get a bag of your, say, house blend beans, ground for filter, please? It just shows a deeper level of engagement with what the shop offers.
So the source's point here is that knowing this slightly broader vocabulary allows you to interact with the whole coffee shop ecosystem more fully. It just makes you feel even more integrated, more comfortable navigating everything they have.
It's about feeling confident enough to ask for anything you see that catches your eye, not just sticking rigidly to the main drink menu.
Wow. Okay, we have covered a ton of ground there, pulling all those insights from the source material, from the absolute core words and all those customization options, to the vital role of politeness, how to navigate the counter, those cultural nuances, handling problems, even ordering food and buying beans.
Right.
But the source makes one final, really, really important point.
And that is the absolutely critical role of practice. The source is really clear. Just knowing all this information isn't quite enough. You've actually got to use it.
Exactly. Their advice isn't just to listen passively or read passively. It's to actively rehearse. Go back over the terms, the phrases we've talked about. Think about different coffee orders you might actually want to make. And then this is the key bit. Practice saying them out loud. Want a large hot latte with almond milk. Say the whole sentence. Want a medium iced Americano with an extra shot to go. Practice that full request.
Yeah, the source really stresses that this kind of verbal rehearsal, it builds muscle memory. It's like training for your mouth and brain. It makes the phrases feel more natural when they come out of your mouth, so they just flow automatically when you're standing there at the counter, maybe feeling that little bit of pressure.
It's that active practice that really turns the knowledge from this deep dive into confident, real-world skill. Every single time you practice saying an order out loud, you're getting one step closer to sounding like you've been doing this forever.
It really is the bridge, isn't it, between just understanding the words on a page and actually using them naturally in a real situation.
So look, you've basically got the map now. The map to becoming that barista boss. thanks to all these insights from the source. You've got the core vocabulary, the tools for customization, those vital politeness strategies, the practical counter tips, the cultural awareness, and even the phrases for when things go a little sideways.
And remember, confidence really is your superpower here. As the source implies, baristas generally appreciate it when you make an effort to communicate clearly. Don't be afraid to actually try these phrases out. Every single interaction is just a chance to learn, to get a little bit smoother next time.
And mastering a common, everyday thing like this, it goes way beyond just getting the right coffee, doesn't it? It's actually a pretty significant step towards feeling more independent, more self-reliant when you're using English out there in the real world.
Think back to that feeling we mentioned right at the start, that little moment of hesitation or panic. Well, now you're equipped. You've got the tools to walk in, order exactly what you fancy, navigate the whole process smoothly, and just feel completely comfortable, completely at ease in that space. That's the real power of applying these insights.
So we really hope you'll put these lessons into practice. The very next chance you get, give it a go. The more you actually use these phrases, apply these little cultural tips, the more natural it's all going to feel.
And remember, too, the underlying principles we've pulled out here, mastering the core words, understanding the context, focusing on politeness, being ready for problems, they apply to so many other situations, don't they? Not just ordering coffee.
Becoming truly local anywhere, it's always a journey, right?
Yeah.
You're always picking up little nuances.
But you definitely now have that essential toolkit, enough to confidently step up to that counter, look the barista in the eye, and order your coffee like you absolutely own the place.
So here's a final thought to leave you with, kind of drawing from the deeper reason why learning these skills matters. Think about this. What if it's not just about ordering the coffee you want, but about confidently ordering the coffee that feels like it truly belongs to that specific moment, wherever you happen to be? What does ordering coffee like a local really open up for you, beyond just getting your drink?
Thanks for listening. And if you found the video helpful, please hit the like button. Make sure to subscribe to my channel so you never miss an episode, and share it with others who might benefit. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes, we'd love to hear from you. So your feedback is really important to us. And if you want to continue learning right now, here in this playlist, you'll find helpful videos for English listening practice. You might want to watch it next. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.